So this week, I'm delighted to have Michael Flanagan, CEO of Xtract, on the line. So Xtract's been, I suppose, best describe you as a friend of Trov's for many years. So be great to hear a little bit about you, Michael. I know you founded the company, so tell us a little bit about that and a little bit about what Xtract does.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, thanks for having me on, Ian, as well. It's great. So before the Xtract days, I founded a telematics company out of Dublin. Very much traditional fleet management. We had devices in everything from private cars to plant machinery, even monitoring the fuel level of trains. So it was a mixed bag of telematics solutions. And I was really where the idea for Xtract came about was from the insurance crisis that we've had in Ireland over the last number of years, where literally premiums have doubled overnight. And we looked at how do we focus on the analysis of telematics data to help claims handler better understand what happened to better settle the claim.
So maybe tell us a little bit more about the challenge that you're addressing for those of us not in the know. Sort of the claims process is sort of obscure, but it's probably old school as well. So tell me a little bit about how you guys facilitate and enable that.
Yeah, so when we think of telematics in the insurance space, it's usually around pricing, underwriting, driver behavior, UBI, but very little focus has been put on the claim side of it. And we kind of came at it and said, if we can focus on the 10 seconds information about what happens when a claim, and kind of build a platform around the handler so that they can instantly know when an impact happens, they can better understand it and better settle the claim. So to bring it back a bit, first of all, we have to look at the different types of devices. So whether your telematics has lots of different devices, from dash cameras to hardwired devices to OBDs. So we have to first focus on how do we take kind of a feed from any source, and then standardize it, normalize it, and then provide insights to the handler regardless of what device it came from. That was something that nobody else was doing, because when we looked at the large kind of telematics providers, they were focusing on some analysis of their own devices. But in order for Xtract to scale, we had to be completely device agnostic. So we had to be able to sit in front of the handler and take a feed from any source and provide that real-time kind of crash detection and crash reconstruction for the handler.
Yeah, and I've seen it. Obviously we've seen it in action. Very, very, very powerful tool. One of the things that sort of struck me actually was that I'm not a claims expert by any means, but the types of questions that I imagine a claims adjuster is trying to answer were very readily sort of observable, I suppose, because you actually recreate the incident in front of, if you like, the claims adjuster based on that data in a very visual way. Maybe you want to just tell us a little bit about that, what it actually looks like.
Yeah, so kind of when we started off first, we were looking at kind of what the analysis was at the time. And it was very static. It was XYZ graphs of acceleration data and speed. And what you ended up having was specialized claims adjusters in the carriers that would just look at the telematics kind of claims. And that's not scalable when you've got thousands and thousands of vehicles all with telematics data and all producing claims. So we need to focus on the UI and the ability kind of to reconstruct it in a way that regardless of your background, you can understand what happened. So we've removed any graphs from the platform. When we do the reconstruction, it's literally just like seeing a replay of the crash overlaid on Google Maps. So as I said, regardless of what your background is, you can understand exactly what happened and understand the details.
And ultimately, I suppose it's in service of the consumer, of the policyholder, the insured, who's trying to get a quick outcome. So in a commercial scenario, get my car or my van fixed so I can get back on the road. Similarly for an individual. So we're for anybody looking back on this, we're sort of middle of June 2020, and we're how should I put it? We're going to say getting comfortable with the pandemic. That's probably not the right way to describe it, but it's been around for a little while now. And so you were telling me that you've had some interesting opportunities to show some more value to consumers as well in this situation. Maybe you want to share some details with us on that.
Yeah, so kind of in parallel to the telematics analysis, we learned that you're still missing a lot of key information around the claim, such as photographs of the vehicles, witness statements, the actual driver statements, third-party details, etc. So we built kind of a version 2 of the platform, which is the ability to capture details through a self-serve F&OL process. Very simple. You send out a link to the driver. fleet manager, and they go through a really visual reconstruction kind of through their smartphone, less than 5 minutes. So you complement the telematics data with that flow. We had already integrated with a chatbot, so you could initiate a claim, our self-serve process within a chatbot. But when kind of COVID struck, there was extra pressure for all centers. So all of a sudden, people are the carriers are scrambling, trying to get everybody to work from home. And it was actually, I won't take the credit for it, because actually one of our partners in the US that said to us, what if you could look at, applying the technology to the IVR process, which is the interactive voice response, which is the call system. And because we had already done the chatbot integration, we looked at how do we sit inside that IVR process so that when you have a crash and you call your carrier, and maybe you're waiting in a queue for a period of time. What if you had the option to press 1 to go through a digital process, where instead of waiting, or instead of waiting to get to the caller, press 1 and a link gets sent straight to your mobile, where you're able to go through that self-serve. What that does is it diverts a portion of your callers down this digital path, and ultimately they have a much better experience, because it takes a lot less than going through a 15-minute telephone FNOL call. Carrier gets much better quality data, without even having to speak to the driver in the scene. So it's kind of a win-win flow. So that's kind of been one of the biggest kind of wins, or kind of thinking that we had to adjust when this all happened.
Mm-hmm. So I've been asking, as we do these interview sessions, I've sort of been asking people to give predictions. So that was a nice example of how things have changed for you sort of more immediately. But as you look into the future, COVID-19 obviously is around. What do you think it does for your industry as you look forward? Does it change anything? And sort of what predictions might you have for your industry as a whole?
So our focus is obviously claims, and it was our message for the last number of years is to help the carriers to digitize their claims process, introduce data that's going to drive better decision making. And COVID-19 has just really accelerated that process for every carrier. What Microsoft's quote was, 2 years of digital transformation has happened in 2 months. We've really seen that, where now there's a focus on how do we introduce data, new processes, better customer journeys to start automating the claim and getting closer to that touchless claim. So I think it's a great change for the industry, and yeah, we welcome it.
Nice note to end it on, Michael. Really appreciate you taking the time. Yeah, it's been great and insightful. Thank you.
No, look, I appreciate you having me on, and thanks a million.